The Tale of Two Fighters, Khabib Nurmagomedov vs Ashot Shiginian. Pro FC Union Nation Cup 14 March 5, 2011. It was a cold, crisp March evening in the heart of Russia, the kind of night where every breath of air seemed to have its own sharp edge. The lights above the arena in Stavropol, Russia, flickered as the crowd gathered, their voices a constant murmur, blending with the noise of the fighters' footsteps echoing through the hallways. The venue was set for a clash of titans, a stage where legends were to be born, and it would be no different tonight. For one, a young undefeated fighter was looking to continue his path toward greatness, a man who had already begun to carve a name for himself in the world of mixed martial arts, Khabib Nurmagomedov. On the other side stood his opponent, Ashot Shiginian, a fighter known for his raw strength and resilience. Ashot was a warrior of a different caliber, a man who had been through his fair share of battles and was determined to prove himself, to take down the rising star, Khabib. His heart burned with the desire to knock the undefeated champion off his pedestal. The calm before the storm, as the fighters prepared backstage, Khabib sat silently, eyes focused, breathing slow and deliberate. The tension in his muscles was palpable. He had a reputation for being unshakable, calm under pressure, the perfect mindset for the warrior about to step into the cage. Ashot, in contrast, was pacing back and forth, his eyes darting around the room, his energy a buzz of anticipation. He wasn't intimidated, but there was no denying the challenge ahead. Khabib had been dominating the scene, and tonight would be no different. As they made their way to the cage, the crowd's noise swelled, growing louder and louder until it was a deafening roar. The lights dimmed, and the fighters entered the octagon, each man standing at opposite corners, their faces set in grim determination. The referee gave his instructions, and as the cage door closed, the fighters knew there was no turning back. Round 1, the clash, the bell rang. It was time to begin the fight. Ashot came out aggressively, charging at Khabib with a flurry of punches. He knew that standing toe-to-toe with Khabib in a grappling exchange would be a mistake, so he relied on his striking power, hoping to land a clean shot and take control of the bout early. But Khabib, ever composed, was ready for this. Khabib circled, measuring his opponent with those sharp, piercing eyes. Ashot threw a powerful left hook, but Khabib ducked, the punch missing by mere inches. The crowd reacted with a collective gasp as Khabib's quick reflexes became apparent. Then, Khabib surged forward, closing the distance in the blink of an eye. The grappling world champion was about to show why he was called the Eagle. With a swift movement, Khabib clinched with Ashot, dragging him into a tight body lock. The sound of the crowd rose as the tension built. This was where Khabib excelled, where his ground game had left so many opponents helpless before him. Ashot struggled, trying to break free, but Khabib's grip was unyielding. The cage became their battleground. Khabib, with his superior positioning and control, forced Ashot against the fence, applying pressure with his body and weight. Every move Khabib made seemed methodical, calculated, a chess game in motion. With a surge of strength, Khabib brought Ashot to the ground, effortlessly transitioning into side control. The crowd went wild, knowing what was coming. This was the moment where Khabib would show his mastery. Ashot, though a formidable fighter, had now entered Khabib's world, a place where escape was all but impossible. As Ashot fought to regain his composure, Khabib went to work. He landed short, powerful punches, breaking through Ashot's defense with brutal efficiency. His strikes were like a metronome, precise and punishing, forcing Ashot into a defensive posture. Ashot tried to escape, to scramble back to his feet, but Khabib was relentless. Khabib's control over Ashot was absolute, like a predator playing with its prey before striking the final blow. And that blow was coming. Khabib launched a series of powerful, controlled punches to Ashot's head, landing cleanly with each strike. Ashot's defense crumbled under the pressure. His hands went up in a futile attempt to protect himself, but it was clear he was overwhelmed, unable to respond to the barrage of strikes coming from Khabib. The referee had no choice but to step in. The fight was over. Victory in a flash. At 1:53 of round 1, the referee called for the stoppage, declaring Khabib Nurmagomedov the winner by TKO punches. The crowd erupted in cheers as Khabib stood, victorious, his undefeated streak intact. Ashot lay on the canvas, breathless, the reality of the fight sinking in. He had given his best, but it was not enough to overcome the sheer dominance of Khabib. Khabib raised his hands in the air, his expression stoic as always. There were no extravagant celebrations, no flashy displays of emotion. For Khabib, this was just another step on the journey, another victory on the road to becoming one of the greatest fighters the sport had ever seen. Ashot, though defeated, stood to his feet, showing respect to Khabib. He had come in with high hopes, but in the face of Khabib's skill, those hopes had shattered like glass. It was a tough loss, but Ashot knew that he had fought a worthy opponent, one who was destined for greatness. As the fighters left the cage, the crowd's energy was palpable, buzzing with excitement. Khabib had shown the world once again why he was feared in the world of MMA. His ground game, his control, and his ability to finish fights in the blink of an eye were unmatched. The aftermath. The result of this fight only added to Khabib's ever-growing legend. It was a performance that further cemented his reputation as one of the most feared lightweights in the world. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a phenomenon, a force of nature that could not be stopped. For Ashot Shiginian, it was a hard lesson. The loss was devastating, but it didn't define him. He would go on to fight more battles, always learning, always improving. The world of mixed martial arts is full of ups and downs, and Ashot's journey was far from over. But on that cold March evening in Stavropol, it was Khabib's moment to shine, and he seized it with the precision and control of a champion. A tale of two warriors. In the end, the story of Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Ashot Shiginian was not just about a victory or a loss. It was a story about determination, about the unyielding spirit of fighters who, in the face of adversity, continue to press forward, to challenge themselves, and to leave their mark on the world. For Khabib, this was one chapter in a book that would eventually become legendary. For Ashot, it was a lesson learned, a step on his own personal journey. Both men would go on to fight again, but this night, this battle, would be remembered as one of the defining moments in Khabib's early career. And so, as the lights dimmed on that fateful night in Stavropol, one thing was certain: this was only the beginning of Khabib's legendary rise.